and welcome to the World of Wrestling podcast. I am Slim, and this is the last episode of the podcast before we go on hiatus for a while. So I thought better make it a good one, eh? You know, we'll start off with the G1 Climax finals, which obviously we did predictions for, and we'll finish with Bound for Glory, which has literally finished in the last 15 minutes, roughly. So, now, before we start, I do want to bring up something that I'm going to do. So, instead of covering pay-per-views the way that we normally do on the podcast, since the podcast isn't going to be around, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a recap review sort of thing, starting tomorrow with Hell in a Cell. So tune in to that to see what that's all about. It's pretty much the exact same thing as what I'm doing now, but it's just for the pay-per-view. Now I guess we will kick this shit off with the G1 Climax 30 finals. And to kick that show off, we have Suzuki-gun, that being Dookie, Dangerous Tekkers, which is ZSJ and Taichi, and El Desperado versus Chaos's Toru Yano, Tomohiro Ishii, Yoshihashi, and Hiroki Goto. It was a good match. Suzuki-gun won by pinfall after Dookie pinned Yoshihashi after Dangerous Tekkers hit Zack Mephisto. Don't ask me who won these and everything. I will tell you who won the belt off of it, because obviously, the belt was on the line. And I'll tell you who walks away with the belt when we get to it. But then we get LIJ, which is Hiromu Takahashi and Shingo Takagi, versus Suzuki-gun, that being Minoru Suzuki and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Pretty good match. LIJ won by pinfall after Hiromu hit the time bomb on Kanemaru. After that, we get Taguchi Japan, which I didn't realise that this was Taguchi Japan. I didn't think it was, but apparently. So Taguchi Japan, this match consists of Master Wato, Jeff Cobb, Juice Robinson, and Hiroshi Tanahashi versus the Bullet Club for life. That's made up of Gato, Kenta, Taiji Ishimori, and Switchblade Jay White. Good match. Taguchi Japan won by submission when Tanahashi locked in the Texas Cloverleaf on Gato. We then get, I guess what they're being called is the Empire, which is Ospreay and Great Khan with B. Priestley versus Chaos, that is Okada and Sho. Pretty good match. Ospreay and Great Khan won by submission after Ospreay locked in the elevated figure 4 leg lock on Sho. Then we have Bullet Club for life. Yujiro Takahashi and Evil versus with Dick Togo versus LIJ's Bushi and Tetsuya Naito. Good match. Bullet Club wins by submission after Evil locked in the Scorpion Deathlock on Bushi. And main event time. It's the finals of the G1 Climax between LIJ's Sonata and Taguchi Japan's Kota Ibushi. Really good match. Ibushi won by pinfall after hitting a second Kamigoye on Sonata, after Sonata kicked out of the first Kamigoye, which nobody had done before. I didn't realise no one had kicked out of the Kamigoye, but yeah, and Sonata was the first. That's cool. And so that means that's the end of the show. And Seth may have walked out as champion again for like the second time or something. I don't know. He's only won it 2 or 3 times. I think it's only second. Hopefully it's only his second, and hopefully it's his last. And now, I'm gonna just not worry about that right now. Seth has shown how big of a pussy he is, because he didn't want to defend the belt at Bound for Glory today. Right, he was never a part of the Impact predictions, but I thought, well, as champion, maybe you should show up. And he went, no, I want to hold on to it as long as I can. So I'm going to hold off until Hell in a Cell. And so that made Bound for Glory pointless, which we will get to at the end of the show. But it made it pointless due to me and Joe just competing over nothing. I guess you could say bragging rights, but we all know that I'm better than Joe anyway. Like, watch the predictions. Joe knows nobody. I know everybody. I mean, I shouldn't say that, because I know what the results of Bound for Glory is, which I will get into. But, yeah. So, we're now, I guess, going to move on to Raw. And Raw this week is the season premiere. So it starts with The Fiend and Alexa Bliss. Bliss shows up in the ring and says that he's here and to let him in. And then The Fiend comes out, does his whole entrance. As he gets in the ring, Retribution shows up. And as Retribution is about to attack The Fiend and Alexa, they disappear. We then get Retribution versus the Hurt Business, because Hurt Business came out after The Fiend and Bliss disappeared. Before the bell, the two teams brawl. During the match, The Fiend shows up on the Tron. It was a good match. The Hurt Business won by submission. After Lashley locks in the Hurt Lock on T-Bar. So yes, Retribution tapped out in their first proper match, I believe. So, yeah. Right, so that might seem like WWE is burying them. Which they very well might be. But this all but confirms it. Post-match, The Fiend shows up and destroys Retribution. Then The Fiend looks at the Hurt Business and Bliss. He looks at the Hurt Business before Bliss shows up on the Tron and The Fiend disappears. So yes, The Fiend showed back up, destroyed the Retribution one by one, looked at the Hurt Business and went, nah, I can't be bothered fighting yous now either, and just disappears. What the hell? After the break, but before we go back to the ring for Retribution versus Hurt Business, we get a hype package for Matt Riddle. Then we get Matt Riddle versus AJ Styles with the bouncer from Raw Underground. Don't remember what his name is. It's Jordan something or other that I can't pronounce or spell, so I went, I'll just say the bouncer from Raw Underground. After Styles comes out, he gets on the mic and says that he is a true leader, and he will redeem Raw because he's the prodigal son. Yes, there's a vacuum going off if you can hear it. There's nothing I can do about that. Because I did say that I was doing this, and they still decided to go and vacuum. I don't know, not my fault. So, yell at me, do whatever, I don't care. But, I'm just telling you, it's not my fault. Anyway, back from break, and the ref tries to DQ Styles because the bouncer won't leave. But the bouncer stops him, and the ref asks him to leave the ring, which he does. Pretty good match. Styles wins by pinfall after hitting the Styles Clash. We then look at the Drew-Orton rivalry and why Orton has a match at Hell in a Cell. Backstage interview with McIntyre, who says that after Clash he should have been done with Orton, but Randy is intelligent because he made Drew see red and challenge him to a match at Hell in a Cell. Now Drew has played right into Orton's plan. Drew also says that he will win at Hell in a Cell and he might show up to Randy's interview later. After that, we get Asuka defending her Raw Women's title against Lana, and during Lana's entrance, we see how Lana got this opportunity. Decent match, because Lana's in it, so obviously it wasn't any good. It was just decent. Asuka won by submission when Asuka locks in the Asuka lock. Post-match, Nora and Shayna show up and attack. They attack Asuka and put Lana through the announcer's table. I was like, that doesn't make sense. Asuka didn't put Lana through the announcer's table. I was just reading it wrong. Yell at me for that. That's fair enough. Lana manages to fight off Baszler and escape. I think that's meant to be Asuka. I don't know, I'm just reading what I wrote. I think that was meant to be Asuka fought off Baszler and escaped. I don't know. I don't remember Raw now, so yeah, we're just gonna say that that's Asuka, not Lana. Baszler and Nia are then in the ring, and after we see what just happened to Lana, Nia says that her and Shayna are on the same page. Baszler says that they own the tag titles, and that means that they own Raw and SmackDown women's divisions, or tag divisions, whatever you want to call it. Mandy and Dana then come out, followed by Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce, and after that the Riot Squad come out. We then get a fatal 4-way tag team match between Baszler and Nia, Dana and Mandy, Lacey and Peyton, and the Riot Squad. Good match. Nia and Baszler win by pinfall after Nia hits the Samoan drop on Evans. Which is why, when we did Hell in a Cell predictions, we used the other three teams, because they didn't get beaten. Well, the other two teams. So, yeah. We then look at what happened to Elias 5 months ago, and then we see Elias's return last week before seeing Elias talking to his band backstage. Then we get Elias's concert. As Elias goes to do an encore, someone starts playing his guitar, and it's Jeff Hardy. Who would have guessed? He tries to attack Elias with the guitar, but fails. Backstage, Miz says that he saved Mandy, just like how he'll save the Money in the Bank contract when he wins his court case thing. Tucker shows up and says that he will find a tag partner and ruin Miz and Morrison's lives tonight, since they're trying to ruin Otis's life. Miz and Morrison accept because they don't think Tucker can find a partner, which they're not wrong. Backstage interview with Elias, who says he thought when he came back people would stop interrupting him, and Elias then challenges Jeff Hardy to a match at Hell in a Cell. We then have Kofi with Xavier Woods versus Sheamus. Before Sheamus comes out, New Day get on the mic and and talk about what has happened over the course of the year, and Sheamus interrupts them and says that he will bro kick them both. Kofi says that with E on SmackDown, it means the New Day is now on both shows. Hang on. I don't know what I was trying to say there, but anyway. New Day taunts Sheamus enough. He comes down to the ring, and we get the match started. Pretty good match. Kofi won by pinfall after hitting Trouble in Paradise. We then look at the end of the 8-man tag match that kicked off the show. Backstage, Ali says that The Fiend and the Hurt Business made a big mistake because they think that Ali's only power is strength in numbers, but it's not. His power is chaos. Ali then admits to being the SmackDown hacker. Ali then says that if you try to stop the truth from being heard, Retribution will shut them down. Now, Ali is the only saving grace in Retribution right now. If he wasn't there, then sure, they'd definitely be buried, but he is there, and he's sort of... Ali takes one step forward, and they get pushed 7 steps backwards. So, yeah, he's sort of trying to drag them through, but it's not working. However, had they have had R-Truth run through when he was talking about the truth, that would have just killed them completely. I sort of wouldn't have been against that either, but I do want Retribution to succeed because Retribution could be really, really good if they booked them properly, but they're not. Anyway, backstage, Titus tries to join the Hurt Business, but they decline his business proposition and beat him up. Then we get Miz and Morrison versus Tucker and El Gran Gordo. Gordo is Otis dressed up as a luchador. El Gran Gordo also means the great fat one in Spanish. So, yeah. I think they were trying to be funny, But as soon as it happened, I looked at it, went, wow, it's Otis, and worked out what El Gran Gordo meant, and I went, oh, that's shit. Anyway, before the match, Heavy Machinery and Miz and Morrison argue over if El Gran Gordo is Otis. Eventually, Miz says that Otis wearing a mask makes him look like he ate Lucha House Party. That was a funny line. Miz also calls Otis a joke. Miz finishes by saying that he will separate Otis from the Money in the Bank contract so Otis can play dress up all he wants. But it still stands that you can dress a pig up as a superhero, but it's still a pig. That pisses Otis off. During the match, Truth runs through the ring, followed by Gulak, Tozawa, and Lucha House Party because, well, I guess I had to make sure that Otis didn't eat them. Good match. Heavy Machinery won by pinfall after El Gran Gordo hits the Vader Bomb on The Miz. Backstage, Heavy Machinery is celebrating with New Day when Mandy shows up with a ham. We then get a new episode of the Firefly Funhouse. This episode is all about a fresh start, and Alexa joins the Funhouse. Main event time, and it's Keith Lee versus Braun Strowman. Good match. Braun wins by pinfall after hitting a big boot. Post-match, Lee low blows Braun, because during the match, dog's going at it. Anyway, during the match, Braun accidentally sort of low blowed Keith. So, yeah, I guess it would make sense that they have like a no DQ match at the pay-per-view. For some reason, I get the feeling that'll be on the pre-show, but I don't know. To close the show, we get Randy Orton's message to Drew McIntyre from Hell. Randy says that people say that when you walk into Hell in a Cell, you leave a piece of yourself. Orton feels like he finds himself inside a Hell in a Cell. Orton then goes through his past Hell in a Cell matches. He then talks about Drew winning the championship, and Drew interrupts, comes down to the cell that Randy is locked. Randy taunts Drew, who gets bolt cutters and comes in and shuts the door. Then starts talking to Orton, saying about how he's going to get him now. And the show closes there. We don't see it. He shuts the door, says, right, I'm coming to get you, and fade to black, show over. I don't know. That makes no sense. But, yeah, anyway, moving on to AEW Dark, and this one has 16 matches. It went for 2 hours and 10 minutes. 10 minutes longer than Dynamite. Why can they not understand that this show is only meant to be about half an hour long? Yet now it's longer than their TV show. TNT would be better off having Dark as their bloody show on TNT. It just makes no friggin' sense and it's stupid. But we kick Dark off with Spears, with Sean Spears, with Tully Blanchard versus Christopher Daniels. Pretty good match. Spears won by pinfall after hitting the C4. Post-match, Spears hits another C4 before loading up the glove. Scorpio Sky comes down to stop Spears from using the loaded glove. Spears then uses the loaded glove on a pyrotechnics guy. Then we have Kylan King versus Brandy Rhodes with Dustin Rhodes. During the match, John Silver comes out with a sign that pretty much says he wants to be on a shot of Brandy. Alex Reynolds then comes out to take Silver to the back. Good match. Brandy won by pinfall after hitting a brogue kick. That's what it was. After that, we get David Ali versus Ricky Starks. Good match. Starks wins by pinfall after hitting the Rochambeau. Post-match, Starks joins commentary. Then we get Scorpio Sky versus Fuego del Sol. Good match. Sky wins by submission with the Scorpion Deathlock. Post-match, Spears music hits, but he doesn't come out. Next up on the card is Aaron Solo versus Luchasaurus with Jungle Boy. Good match. Luchasaurus won by pinfall after hitting a chokeslam, then a standing moonsault. We then get the Butcher and the Blade versus Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. Good match. Butcher and Blade win by pinfall after hitting the Powerbomb Neckbreaker combo on Garrison. Next we have Pentagon Jr. versus QT Marshall with Dustin Rhodes. During the match, Eddie Kingston comes out with a mic. Eddie tells QT that he has a present for QT, and it's Ali who comes out as the bunny. Really good match. Penta wins by pinfall after hitting the package pile driver. After that, we get Jungle Boy with Luchasaurus versus KTB. Pretty good match. Jungle Boy won by pinfall after hitting the diving double knee drop. Starks leaves commentary after this match. We then have Kenzie Page and Skylar Moore versus Ivelisse and Diamante. Ivelisse and Diamante attack right at the bell. Good match. Ivelisse and Diamante win by pinfall after Ivelisse hit the headlock roll through kick combo thing on Page. Next up is Bishop King versus Colt Cabana. During Colt's entrance, Colt continues to look for Dark Order, who doesn't come out with him. But during the match, 3 and 4 come out a couple of times, which distracts Colt. Good match. Colt wins by pinfall with the Superman pin. Following that, we have Adam Priest with, versus 5, with Dark Order. Good match. 5 wins by pinfall with the Wing Snapper. Backstage, Frankie Kazarian says that he will beat Jack Evans because he is beginning his rise up the card. After that, we have Frankie Kazarian versus Jack Evans with Angelico. During the match, Angelico gets knocked out of his shoes when he attempts to get involved for a second time. Pretty good match. Kaz wins by pinfall with the reverse DDT. Post-match, TH2 attack Kaz until Daniels comes out to run them off. It's then Louis Valley, Baron Black, and D3 versus 3, 4, and 10 of the Dark Order. Good match. Dark Order win by pinfall after they hit that triple team move that's sort of like Lance Archer's Blackout, but it's more of a spin thing, you know. If you've seen it, you've seen it. If you don't, I can't explain it. They hit that on Valley. Following that, we get Vinny Pacifico versus Wardlow. Squash match. Wardlow won by KO after hitting the top rope dropping knee strike. Post-match, Wardlow hits the F10 on Pacifico. Then backstage, Eddie Kingston says that the family is back together now and everyone will pay. Then it's Matt Sydal versus Sean Dean. Pretty good match. Sydal wins by submission with the grounded Cobra Clutch. Main event time, and it's Rey Fenix with Eddie Kingston versus Sonny Kiss with Joey Janela. Really good match. Phoenix wins by pinfall after hitting the spin-out muscle buster. We are finally through with Dark. That was a lot of shit. It was a good show, but damn, was it long. I don't know. I always find Dark to be very long because it's pretty much just, you know who's going to win the match. That's really all it is. When you look at it and you go, right, Vinny Pacifico versus Wardlow. Obviously, Wardlow. Louis Valley, Baron Black, and D3 versus Dark Order. Well, the Dark Order. You get matches like Kaz versus Evans, right? And you're like, oh, who's going to win that? That's a good match to have. Because you don't know who's going to win that. That's a match that should be on Dark. Hell, it could even be on Dynamite. You look at, Phoenix versus Sonny Kiss. Again, good match to have on Dark. Could be on the main show. Who knows? But you look at Matt Sydal versus Sean Dean. Clearly Sydal's winning. That's my... it's just long because it's a whole bunch of filler. That's mostly what it is. Right? And even if they did want to use it as sort of creating hype for Dynamite, they don't need that many matches. Right? You look at it and you go, right, what's on Dynamite? Right, we got, I don't know, Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page. Right, that's a big match, probably the main event, whatever. Call it what it is. We're going to have Kenny and Hangman on there. They can verse some jobbers. That's fine. But you don't need every match to be like that. You've got 2 matches for Dark there. Then you also go, right, well, Sean Spears ain't doing much at the moment, and he can go and take on, Scorpio Sky. You can't tell who's going to win that, right? Sure, they're not doing anything on Dynamite, but it's a good match, right? And Matt Sydal, he's somebody that is sort of... right. He's not a job guy, right, obviously, but he's not on Dynamite, every week or, every couple of weeks, whatever. He's not somebody on Dynamite. He's not somebody that's just going to be a jobber. So he's someone in the middle that you could always use to put up a really good match and then lose to someone. Or you could have him upset and get the win. Either way, it doesn't matter. But just having job matches, you got 16 matches and 14 of them were job matches that go for 10 minutes or so. You don't need them. You really don't. You could have one or two and then have one or two other matches that aren't job matches that are competitive who's going to win matches. But yeah, I don't know. That's my thoughts on Dark. So yeah. Anyway, moving on to AEW Dynamite. And Dynamite this week starts with a first round match in the AEW World Championship number 1 Contenders Eliminator Tournament. Yeah. Between Wardlow and Jungle Boy. Pretty good match. Wardlow won by pinfall after hitting the F10. Right, so if we look at Dark, Wardlow obviously won because he had a match. Wardlow didn't need a match this week. He could have had a match last week. And then you just don't have him on TV. Or you do have him on TV and he just destroys Jungle Boy. Whatever. Doesn't matter. He didn't have to have a match this week. Jungle Boy, tag wrestler, didn't have to have a match this week. Could have been a tag match. Didn't have to be a job match either. Could have been a good competitive, who's going to win, him and Matt Sydal. That could have been cool. But, yeah. Anyway, we're not going to talk about Dark anymore, we're talking about Dynamite. We then look at what happened after Dynamite went off the air last week, with Eddie Kingston having a go and challenging Moxley to an I Quit match at Full Gear, and it's for the title. Then we get a promo from Moxley, who says that he doesn't know who Kingston is anymore, and he will put this bitter version of Kingston to bed in the I Quit match at Full Gear. We then get another first round match. I'm not going to repeat everything, because if I just say it's a first round match, you know what I mean. It's between Sonny Kiss and Kenny Omega. The match is literally V-Trigger, 1 Winged Angel, 1, 2, 3. Omega wins. I'm not going to grade it good, great, whatever, squash. Because, yeah. Post-match, Omega helps Sonny up and shows respect. I think he's gone back to being the cleaner as well, which is cool. Backstage interview from earlier in the day with Orange Cassidy, who doesn't care about his match next week against Cody for the title. Another backstage interview from earlier with Cody, who says he's surprised how quickly AEW wants the rematch between himself and Orange Cassidy. Cody also doesn't think Orange will beat him next week either. We then get a promo from Eddie Kingston, who says that what Mox said earlier is true, but he was forced to become what he is because he was getting nowhere. We then have Penta versus Phoenix in a first round match. Kingston joins commentary. The two start by shaking hands. During the match, Phoenix lands on his head after hitting a top rope Hurricane Rana. It was just an amazing match. It was great. Phoenix won by pinfall after hitting a flying Canadian Destroyer. I don't know how he did it, but he did. However, Phoenix did get injured off of that top rope Hurricane Rana spot and has relinquished his spot to Penta. So, yeah. We then get a package telling the story of the rivalry between Best Friends and Miro and Kip Sabian, because they're not on the card tonight. Backstage interview with the Dark Order. 3 says that he and 4 will win their tag match tonight and go on to become the tag champs. Colt says he will advance at the tournament. 4 says that not only will Colt be the new AEW champ, he and 3 will be the tag champs, and Mr. Brody will take back his TNT title. After that, we get the final first round match. That's between Colt Cabana and Hangman Adam Page. Pretty good match. Hangman wins by pinfall after hitting the buckshot lariat. Post-match, Dark Order come out to help Colt to the back. Then we get a promo package from Sammy Guevara, who challenges Matt Hardy to a match at Full Gear. Team Taz is then on the stage. Taz says he has some problems. Number one, Will Hobbs. He wants not a match, an answer from Will Hobbs. Number two is Darby Allin getting a TNT title match at Full Gear. Taz says that Cage and Starks get nothing, and he wants to know why. Starks says that he'll put Darby in the grave next time they meet. In there, at some point, Taz also talked about the fact that had Starks have beaten Darby the last time they fought, he would have been getting the shot at the title at Full Gear. But yeah, I don't know. It was all just to piss Taz off anyway. We then get Ladina Debonair with MJF and Chris Jericho, who try to one-up each other when ordering their meals, which was just getting rarer and rarer until Jericho got to blue. Yep. They then break off into a musical act. When they finish, they both get their steaks, which obviously Jericho's having blue and MJF's having rare. So, what are they going to do? They're heels. They send them back. Yeah. Then we have Kylan King versus Dr. Britt Baker DMD with Reba. Good match. Baker wins by submission with the lockjaw. Then we get a video package from Darby Allin and Steve-O from Jackass, where Darby goes off the top of a skateboard ramp thing, and not only does he go off the top of it, he rolls off the top of it while in a body bag. Then, when he gets to the bottom, he just says, I'm going to win the TNT title. Main event time, and it's a Fatal 4-Way number 1 contenders match between Dark Order, that being 3 and 4, Butcher and the Blade with the Bunny, Private Party with Matt Hardy, and the Young Bucks. FTR joined commentary. During the match, 3 gets legitimately knocked out. Really good match. Bucks win by pinfall after they reverse a roll-up from Cassidy into another roll-up. Post-match, Bucks and FTR go face-to-face until Tully gets in the ring with a chair, hits Matt with it. FTR attack Nick before FTR and Tully hit the Mindbreaker on Nick, and they put the chair on Matt's leg, jump on it, and then jump on the chair. Like what Bayley did to Sasha, except that was on her neck, and this is on Matt's leg. They do that to close the show. Moving on to NXT, and NXT this week kicks off with Kushida in the ring ready to go for his match against Velveteen Dream and Tommaso Ciampa. During Dream's entrance, Ciampa attacks Dream from behind. The 3 start brawling, and that begins the match. Really good match. Kushida won by pinfall after Dream hit Ciampa with the cast, and Kushida hit a bridging German suplex. Backstage, we have the Era with Cole on an iPad. Era pretty much say that they're going to win back the tag titles tonight. We then get a hype package for Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Gonzalez at Halloween Havoc, in which case you can check out our predictions for those on the channel. They're already live. Go and check them out. Also, let us know what your predictions are for, everything. Halloween Havoc, Hell in a Cell. Hell, even if you haven't seen Impact, go and let us know what your predictions are for that. Don't look them up. That's cheating. But yeah, anyway. Then we get Jessie Kamea versus Ember Moon. Good match. Ember won by submission with what I'd describe as a cross-legged standing bow and arrow. I think. I don't know. That's... When I say cross-legged, I mean it's the same as a bow and arrow. But she was standing, and it was... Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. It was weird. I couldn't think of what the hell it was. So I just went with that. Originally, I wasn't even going to describe it, but I thought that was pretty close, so yeah. Post-match, Dakota Kai attacks Ember Moon. We then go backstage where Fish has been attacked and seemingly injured. Then we have Austin Theory versus Bronson Reed. I wrote Ember Moon. I don't know. We have Austin Theory versus Bronson Reed. During the match, we're told that Fish is not able to compete and Kyle O'Reilly has been cleared to compete, so he'll take Fish's spot in the main event. Good match. Reed won by pinfall after hitting the tsunami. Post-match, Theory gets on the mic and says he isn't done with Reed until he beats him. Reed gets back in and they ring the bell. We're having another match. Reed beats Theory by pinfall again, this time with a small drop. Pretty much straight away. Backstage interview with Xia Li and Casey Catanzaro. Xia says she needs the win. Casey says let the best woman win. During the break, we see Austin Theory walking to his car and he says that he's done and he quits. Then we get Legado del Fantasma versus Jake Atlas, Ashanti the Adonis, and Swerve. Pretty good match. Legado won after Wilde and Mendoza hit the Russian leg sweep flying kick combo on Adonis. We then see the Garganos who are training to spin the wheel, which Johnny hates wheels. We then have Everrise versus Drake Maverick and Killian Dane. Good match. Everrise wins by disqualification when Maverick gets a chair and destroys Everrise with the chair. Post-match, Dane says that was awesome and asks where that guy has been. We then go backstage again and we see that Roderick has also been attacked. Backstage, Regal says that they're still going to have a tag title match. Kyle O'Reilly tells Regal to give the match to Birch and Lorcan. They say, no, and to use one of them as his tag partner. Kyle O'Reilly says no, he's going to the hospital, which he actually does say hospital, not local medical facility. Regal makes it official, Breezango defending against the Britain Brawlers. Then we have Xia Li versus Casey Catanzaro with Caden Carter. Decent match, Catanzaro won by pinfall when she gets a surprise pin. Post-match, Xia Li attacks Catanzaro and Carter before Gonzalez comes out and destroys all three of them. Gonzalez then gets on the mic and says that this is what awaits Ripley next week. Backstage interview with Cameron Grimes, who freaks out when he's told about his Haunted House of Terror match at Halloween Havoc next week. While Grimes is talking, Loomis appears behind a door. Well, yeah. They're standing in front of a door that's got a window in it. That's where Loomis is standing. Then we get a hype package for the NXT Women's Title match at Halloween Havoc. We'll then get a live session of Thatcher's Thatchcan training, which goes a little bit wrong when the trainee gets the better of Thatcher. We then get Timothy Thatcher versus his trainee, Anthony. Squash match, Thatcher wins by submission with a half crab. Post-match, Thatcher refuses to let go of the hold. Then we get a hype package for the NXT North American title match at Halloween Havoc. Main event time. And it's Breezango defending the NXT Tag Team Championships against the Britain Brawlers. During the match, someone pushes Fandango off the top rope. Pretty good match. Britain Brawlers won by pinfall after Birch low blows Breeze and then they hit the elevated DDT for the win to capture the NXT tag titles. Post-match, the man who pushed Dango off the top rope, it's also alluded that he attacks Aaron. I think it's been confirmed now. But that's revealed to be none other than Adam Cole's favourite person in the whole entire world, Pat McAfee. And that was an awesome reveal. But we'll move on to NXT UK. There's not much to say about that. It's Pat McAfee. Can't wait to see what happens. He was really, really good at TakeOver, whatever one he was wrestling at. Was it 30? In Your House? 30? Whatever one. He was really, really good, so yeah. Can't wait to see what happens. But we'll move on to NXT UK, which kicks off with Eddie Dennis versus Oliver Carter. Pretty good match. Dennis won by pinfall after hitting the 7-bridge powerbomb. Post-match, Dennis gets on the mic and accuses Mark Andrews of attacking Flash Morgan Webster. We then get a hype package for Joe Coffey. Then we get Amal versus Nina Samuels. Good match. Samuels wins by pinfall after hitting the final act. Backstage interview with Nina Samuels, who says she's not a tag star, and then she says that she will be watching Piper Niven, indicating that's who her next feud's going to be with. Main event time, and it's the final first round match in the Heritage Cup between Trent Seven and Kenny Williams. First fall goes to Seven after hitting the 7-star lariat and getting the pin with 3 seconds left on the clock in the third round. Williams gets the second fall with a double leg Nelson pin 25 seconds into the fourth round. Seven wins with 37 seconds left in the fifth round by pinfall when he rolls through after being hit with a top rope hurricanrana. Post-match, the two shake hands. To close the show, we get Volta and Ilya Dragunov signing the contract for their NXT UK Championship match next week. Sid Scala is presiding over the contract signing. Both men don't say anything and sign the contract before brawling to close the show. Moving on to SmackDown. SmackDown this week starts with the Kevin Owens show, and Owens' guest is Daniel Bryan. Bryan talks about his vision for SmackDown, and he also says he would love to see the Intercontinental title defended every week on SmackDown. Owens then asks Bryan about the tag team titles because Owens wants to team with Bryan and go after the tag titles. And at that point, Rudolph comes out. Rude says that they're the greatest tag team on the planet. Profits come out. Profits talk shit about Rudolph before saying they want the smoke. Then Cesaro and Nakamura come out. Cesaro says that they are being disrespected again. Bryan then says that maybe they should test Kev's theory about how good of a team they would be. Owens and the Profits then attack Cesaro, Nakamura, and Rudolph. Then we get Rudolph, Cesaro, and Nakamura versus Bryan, Owens, and the Profits. Pretty good match. Bryan, Owens, and the Profits win by pinfall after 4 hits from the heavens on Cesaro. We then get the start of the court case between Miz and Otis, which is called Law and Otis. JBL is the judge. Ron Simmons is a guard. Yeah. Backstage, we see the Profits, Owens, and Bryan celebrating. Sammy comes up to Bryan after the other guys leave. Sammy says he doesn't share Bryan's vision about the Intercontinental title. Then we have Bianca Belair versus Zelina Vega. Decent match. Belair wins by pinfall after hitting the KOD. We then get a hype package for Lars. In-ring interview with Shorty G, who says that his match with Lars... before his match with Lars. Shorty says that he decided to take this match to prove that he belongs here. Decent match. Lars won by pinfall after hitting the freak accident. Post-match, Shorty G quits. Backstage interview with Rollins, who says that Murphy is confused and Murphy needs to learn his role in the greater good. Then we go to the trainer's room, where Adam Pearce talks to Shorty G, who says yes, he does quit. Quits being Shorty G, and he's going back to Chad Gable. Bayley's out next and says that Sasha didn't deserve the match at Hell in a Cell. Bayley then says she's not going to sign the contract. Sasha comes out with the contract and eventually forces Bayley to sign the contract. We then get the next part of the court case. Teddy Long is the scribe, and this time we get people on the stand, including Morrison, Ray, Asuka, and Tucker. Then we come back from break and we get the final part of the court case. JBL rules in favour of The Miz after Miz pays him off. We then get a hype package for Rollins versus Murphy, and before I move on, I should say that when JBL rules the court case, he says that Otis will have to defend his Money in the Bank against The Miz at Hell in a Cell. So yeah, then we get the hype package for Rollins and Murphy. Main event time, and it's Rollins versus Murphy. Backstage, we see Aaliyah, who is watching the match. Rollins and Ray and Dominic, not Rollins, show up to try to get her to leave, but she refuses. Really good match. Rollins wins by pinfall after hitting the stomp. Post-match, Rollins gets a kendo stick, and Aaliyah comes out to help Murphy because Ray and Dominic won't. Dominic comes out, and Rollins attacks him. So Ray comes out to run Rollins off. We then close the show with Roman telling Jay the consequences for their match at Hell in a Cell. As Reigns comes out, Jimmy shows up on the Tron. We don't know it's Jimmy, but it is. He tells Roman to turn around after sort of having a go at him. And Jay attacks Reigns. Reigns says that, well, yeah, after all this brawling, Reigns says that if Reigns quits, he is no longer the Universal Champion or the Tribal Chief. But if Jay quits, he will fall in line, and if he doesn't, then both Jimmy and Jay, along with their families, are out of the family. Now, what that means is that the larger family is the one that Reigns is the head of. Jimmy and Jay's part of that family will no longer be a part of the big family if Jay loses and then decides not to call Reigns the Tribal Chief. So yeah, that's how that works. And we'll now move on to 205 Live, which starts with the Brian Kendrick versus Mansoor. Good match, Mansoor won by pinfall with a sneak pin. Post-match, Kendrick shakes Mansoor's hand before leaving. We then get the same Jordan Devlin promo from NXT UK last week, I believe it was. Then we look at what happened during the six-man tag match between Legado del Fantasma, Swerve, Adonis and Atlas on NXT. Then we get the Bollywood Boys who say that they're back, pretty much. Then we see what happened last week when Nice attacked Kurt Stallion before we get a promo from Stallion who says he'll beat Nice later. Main event time, and it's Kurt Stallion versus Tony Nese. As the match starts, Daivari comes out to join commentary, which distracts Stallion. Pretty good match. Nese wins by pinfall after hitting the running Nese. Post-match, Nese holds Daivari back from attacking Stallion. So, yeah. Now, we'll move on to Impact's Bound for Glory. Alright. So, this was pretty much just bragging rights between me and Joe. We start on the pre-show. So, we're both on 0 points here. We both picked the Rascals, who are versing the Dinas. Decent match. Dinas win by pinfall after hitting a modified assisted side slam on Dez. Yeah. So we're still on 0 points. Main show kicks off with a six-way scramble match for the X Division Championship between TJP, who is Joe's pick, Chris Bay, Willie Mack, who is my pick, Trey Miguel, Jordan Grace, and the champion Rohit Raju. Pretty good match. Rohit won by pinfall after stealing the pin on Trey from TJP, which I guess is quite lucky because that would mean that Joe would have been up. So we're still on 0 points though. We then have the Collier Shot Gauntlet match. Entry number 1 is Rhino. Number 2 is Sean Daivari, which was a surprise. Number 3 is Larry D. 4 is Crazy Steve. 5 is AC Romero. 6 is Tennille Dashwood, who decides not to get in the ring, but sends Caleb in instead. 7 is Havoc. 8 is Brian Myers. At this point, neither mine or Joe's picks are in yet. 9 comes out, and it's Swoggle. Daivari. Hang on. No, I forgot to say that when Brian Myers comes out, Crazy Steve gets eliminated by Brian Myers. Then Swoggle comes out. Daivari is then eliminated by Myers and Swoggle. Myers then eliminates Swoggle as well. Now we're halfway through, and 10 comes out, and it's Tommy Dreamer who comes out with Road Warrior Animal's face paint on. 11 is Alicia Edwards. Dreamer and Alicia then get eliminated by Myers. Kira Hogan is number 12. Tennille then gets eliminated by Myers. 13 is Joe's pick, which is Taya Valkyrie. Number 14 is Fala Bar. Hogan then goes by Havoc, which then she gets eliminated by Valkyrie. And Triple XL then get rid of Valkyrie, so Joe cannot win this match. Number 15 is a returning James Storm, which is cool. Storm gets rid of Larry D. 16 is Adam Thornstowe. 17 is Lust of the Legend. And my pick is number 18, Heath. Heath gets rid of AC and Myers. 19 comes out, it's Sammy Callahan. Hernandez is last. Falaba gets eliminated by Hernandez. Hernandez then eliminates himself to go and get his money back from Falaba. Rhino gets rid of Thornstowe. And the final four are Rhino, Callahan, Storm, and Heath. Final two, Rhino, Sammy Callahan, which means, once again, me and Joe are still on 0 points. And also, when you get down to the final two in the Collier Shot gauntlet match, it turns into a singles match. So, now Rhino and Callahan are having a singles match, which the entire match overall was pretty good. Rhino wins by pinfall after hitting the gore. So, my reasoning for picking Heath was correct. I just didn't pick Rhino. I picked Heath because I went with Rhino's first. So he'll get so far through it and get eliminated, and Heath will be later and win. But apparently not. Anyway, backstage interview with the North, who say that they will take back their tag team titles. After that, we have Moose versus EC3. Cinematic match, which doesn't really have any rules. Also doesn't have a ref, so technically the match isn't even a match, but it was all about EC3 trying to turn Moose into a killer, and in the end, Moose walked away with the TNA World title, while EC3 is dragged away. So I guess Moose wins, technically. Also, I should say that both of us picked EC3, so yes, still on 0 points. We then look at Ken Shamrock being inducted into the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame by The Rock, which happened on the pre-show. Then we have Eddie Edwards versus Ken Shamrock with Sami Callihan. Both of us picked Ken Shamrock. During the match, the lights go out when they come back on. Callihan has a baseball bat, but Edwards has the kendo stick. I believe the kendo stick's name is Kenny. Edwards takes out Callihan. Shamrock won by submission with the ankle lock. So yes, both of us are on 1 point each. We then get the fatal four-way tag team match for the Impact Tag Team Championships between the champions, Motor City Machine Guns, which me and Joe didn't pick. The North, me and Joe didn't pick them. Ace Austin and Madman Fulton, which Joe picked. And the Good Brothers, which I picked. Also, you should also check out our Impact predictions. Before the match, though, the North attacks Motor City Machine Guns, and Alex Shelley is taken out, and Chris Sabin decides to enter the match by himself. Pretty good match. The North win by pinfall after Ethan Page hit Carl Anderson with the tag belt so that Josh Alexander could pin him. Which means, yes, we are still 1 point each. We then get Taya, Rosemary, and Bravo talking about their wedding before Havoc shows up and leaves with Rosemary to resurrect Father James Mitchell. We then have Deonna Purrazzo with Kimberly versus Kylie Rae for the Impact Women's Championship. Before the match, Kylie Rae doesn't come out, and Purrazzo gets on the mic, says that she's not surprised Rae hasn't showed up, then challenges anyone in the back to come out and have a match with the title on the line. Su Yung answers the challenge. Now the match is Su Yung versus Deonna Purrazzo with Kimberly, with the Impact Women's title on the line. So originally, Joe picked Kylie Rae, I picked Deonna Purrazzo, but since that match didn't happen, means that, well, that prediction is null and void. So, we're still on 1 point after the end of this match. And with that, during the match, the ref gets taken out, allowing Kimberly to get involved. Good match. Su Yung wins by pinfall after hitting the panic switch. So technically, if we looked at it sort of in a broader sense, Joe would have gotten a point there because the challenger did win, but because it wasn't Kylie Rae, no points were awarded. Even if Deonna Purrazzo won, I still wouldn't get a point. Which means, yes, we are 1 point apiece still. But, yeah. Main event time, and it's Rich Swann versus Eric Young for the Impact World Championship. Both of us picked Eric Young. So it means that we tie, no matter what. Really good match. Rich Swann wins the Impact World Championship after hitting the Phoenix Splash. Post-match, the Face locker room empties to celebrate with Swann. Which, yeah, that means me and Joe ended on 1 point each. That's... I don't know how that happened. But it does mean that tomorrow at Hell in a Cell, I will walk away with the championship anyway. But, yeah. So, that's been it for the World of Wrestling podcast. We will be back, not next week, not the week after. I don't know when. We're going on hiatus, putting the podcast on hiatus, until Kyle is ready to come back. I will provide updates on it, every little while. Maybe every month, I don't know. Just to sort of say, we are still hoping it comes back, but we don't know when that'll be. Also, hopefully we can change up the format, change up the way we do things and everything. And, yeah, obviously, when Kyle comes back, the podcast will be a lot different anyway. But, yeah, so that's been it for the World of Wrestling podcast. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Follow our Facebook and Twitter. Links to those are in the description. Check out our predictions video. Check out the Hell in a Cell review video that will be out tomorrow after Hell in a Cell. Where I'll have my belt back by then. But yeah, other than that, thanks for watching. Goodbye and good night.